Hey guys, welcome to my full Halo Infinite multiplayer reveal breakdown video. I'm also going to be breaking down all of the customization news that we got today as well, because honestly, we got about as much customization news as we did multiplayer, so I'm going to do all of that in this video. We're going to start off right now with today's Vidoc, and then we're going to break down the trailer, the gameplay, and all three of the articles pertaining to multiplayer and customization that got released last night. Now, some of the content that I cover in the Vidoc breakdown, I will kind of, in a way, cover again in the other breakdown after, just because some of it got released last night and then got, elaborated on in the Vidoc today, so just FYI, but let's waste no more time and jump into it. So the Vidoc was pretty much focused entirely on multiplayer and customization, and one of the key things they opened with was that Infinite Multiplayer was designed as a celebration of previous Halo, as well as an iteration of where Halo can go next, and I think the revival of equipment is kind of a good sign of that. Here we have Mark V, the glorious Mark V making its return, absolutely gorgeous to see, and then in this next clip here, we can see the Bulldog that seems to fire really fast. That is a fast-firing shotgun. That actually kind of makes me happy because I can imagine the traditional shotgun actually fitting in the sandbox alongside this. Its use case does look quite different, at least compared to what they showed off last year. That makes me happy. Now, interestingly, we can see here with the Needler, and also here with the Assault Rifle, that they appear to have some sort of zoom or smart scope feature, and they've not shown that off at all outside of this Vidoc yet. They've kind of left that late, which is interesting. Now, I really hope that this doesn't provide an accuracy boost, and it's literally just a zoom, a purely cosmetic zoom, because when you start giving Assault Rifles and automatics zooms that give accuracy boosts, it starts to kind of shake up where they lie in the sandbox and it makes them a bit too powerful like Halo 5's AR, so fingers crossed this is just cosmetic. Moving on the Johnson map, you'll see why I'm calling it the Johnson map later on, there's a massive commemoration on the wall to Noble 6 with his Mark 5B helmet, which is really cool. And then on the same map, this looks to be the intro to a game, kind of like a reverse winner's circle. Remember in the Halo 5 beta how at the end of the game all the Spartans line up? Well, this kind of looks like the opposite of that. All the Spartans line up and do poses. Maybe these are even stances actually at the start of the game. Maybe this is how your stance gets displayed. Honestly, that would be really cool if they actually integrated the stances into a game. I'd like that a lot. It's looking to me like weapon grappling is basically the next evolution of combat evolving, which is also actually still in Infinite. I'll show it now, I'll talk about this later on in the video, but they clearly show here that you can still combat evolve weapons, so there's going to be combat evolving and also weapon grappling, which is really cool. Now, something interesting here is that the hammer appears to have a really slow swing speed and also a kind of ripple effect that comes out of it, like Tartarus's Gavel, that legendary or mythic hammer from Halo 5. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this slow swing. It looks a bit unresponsive, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to try it out for ourselves, because, I don't know, it might just be the way that it looks in the trailer. It might be really responsive in-game, but it's just the really heavy-looking animation, as cool as it is, could end up making the weapon not feel particularly nice, but we'll have to wait and see. We can't judge that until we play it for ourselves. Here we have our personal AI in action on the hill. This AI, according to Grim, is called Lumu. Now, I've got to be honest, AI customization is something that I didn't know I needed. That is such a cool new area of customization. Man, I beg I can get Mendicant Bias as my own personal AI. That would be a dream come true. Apparently Jeff Steitzer, the announcer, the iconic Halo announcer, is still there, and the personal AI is not a replacement for him, rather it's a reflection of info for the player. So this guy we see here, this AI is called Butler, and apparently the AIs give you moment-to-moment updates, like get the flag back to base, etc. in CTF, so they fill a different role to Jeff Steitzer. And here we have what looks to be an AI selection cutscene that looks really cool. This is a pretty cool way to get you immersed in the multiplayer. It's looking like with the repulsor, you can rocket jump, which looks so cool. I can already see so many insane repulsor ninjas or repulsor outplays with this thing. So cool. Although one thing this clip does kind of worry me about is that there's no overkill medal. You can see in the feed, this guy gets an overkill with a hammer, but no medal shows up anywhere. Now, I would assume that's just because the game isn't finished yet. Maybe the medals just weren't showing up for whatever reason. I would be blown away if they got rid of medals. So to be honest, I wouldn't worry too much about this. In addition to weapons, you can also grapple power-ups. However, you can now keep power-ups in your pocket and you drop them when you die if you don't use them. Now, this is one of those things that I don't think we can really say either way if it's going to be good or bad until we actually play the game. I see positives and also negatives with this. The positives being that now power-ups are technically more dynamic because you can literally savor them and use them whenever you want. But at the same time, if the kind of visual information that a player has overshield or camo on them isn't good, it could lead to some really infuriating moments where, like, say you're in a 1v1 with somebody and, like, you're beating them, they're getting kind of weak, but then all of a sudden, they just whip out overshield and they're, like, invincible for a second whilst it charges up, and then they've got double shields. Like, I guess the really slow animation speed could kind of counter that. That could be a way to stop that. So if they're weak and they pull out overshield, you just headshot them or something, or melee them whilst they're plugging it into their chest. But really, we're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays when we actually get our hands on the game itself, because stuff like this, like specific gameplay features like this, I feel like you really can't judge until you've actually tried it yourself. So whenever Flighting starts, we can try this out for ourselves. Here we have the new vehicle damage system, with a Warthog driving with its back left wheel missing, which is pretty cool. They also touch on the vehicle doomsday scenario system as well, which apparently was actually a thing, like a full-on thing in Halo 2's beta. It's kind of present in Halo 2, like when you shoot a ghost and destroy it loads, it will start to like overload kind of, then blow up. But apparently this system, I think it was Vengeful Vidam was saying this, was actually like in Halo 2's beta 1-to-1, so it's pretty cool to see it come back. I can see so many cool moments where like you and your teammates are in a Warthog and it gets severely damaged to the point where it's essentially a ticking time bomb. Your friends jump out the Warthog and you just drive it into the enemy and blow it up. Like, there's so many cool moments that could come out of that. And speaking of vehicles, here we have our first in-game look at the new Razorback, the cousin of the Warthog. Now this thing looks so damn cool. It can store stuff like weapons, fusion coils, objectives, and even detached turrets in the back. And Spartans can sit in there as well, like the Troop Hog from Halo 3 and Halo Reach. Now this thing, it looks so cool, both visually and also functionally as well. The way that I look at it is, it's basically a dynamic, like, do-it-yourself Warthog. Like, you've essentially taken the core of a Warthog and allowed the player to modify it on the fly on the battlefield, which is such a cool idea. Honestly, I can't believe that's never been done before. That's actually a really, really good idea. As expected, the Banished Wraith looks absolutely sick, bulky, heavily armoured, crimson, and just so banished. Now, they say here that vehicles in BTB no longer just spawn at bases, Pelicans deliver them, and again, we'll be touching more on that later on in the video, and as well as Pelicans delivering vehicles, you're going to have Delta Halo-style drop pods dropping weapons onto the battlefield as well, which they classify as ordnance. Right, so moving on to the customization section of the Vidoc, here you can see just some of the customization options for your Spartan, and they even go on to confirm that armor emblems and armor effects are making their return. I mean, I think everyone kind of presumed that when they said Reach style customization, but getting confirmation, oh, I want my inclement weather back. Also, I really hope we get Flaming Head as well. Fingers crossed. Here we have footage of the Armour Hall, where Spartans, weapons, and vehicles can all be customized. Now, you can also do all of this on the Waypoint website and also the new Waypoint app, but hopefully the Spartan customization looks better on Waypoint than it did in Halo 5, because my god, the Halo 5 Waypoint Spartan customization, the Spartans in that UI looked absolutely awful. I don't know what went wrong with them, but hopefully they look better than this, because these were not great. You can customize your Spartan's body type, voice, and also prosthetic limbs, and the prosthetic limbs look really, really detailed. So you can customize both arms and both legs, and you can give them either transradial prosthetics, which is half of the limb, or transhumeral, which is the full limb. That's very cool to see that kind of differentiated from regular customization, so any chest piece or shoulder piece can be given any kind of prosthetic you want. Some details about the Battle Pass, and it sounds as pretty much as good as a Battle Pass can get, to be quite honest with you. So the Battle Passes, like MCC, will never go away. So once you buy the Battle Pass, it will never expire. In future seasons, you can purchase old battle passes as well as the new one and choose which battle pass your progression goes towards, which is honestly the best way to do a battle pass, if you ask me. That's better than literally every other game out there, so I'm happy with that. All these rewards as well are what is called single source, which means that if you, say, unlock a piece of armor in the battle pass, you can't go to the store and pay money to buy that piece of armor. It is only unlockable via the battle pass, so that should alleviate some of the pay-to-skip concerns that people, myself included, had with this game. But then they go on to just reiterate that there's a lot of stuff in this game that is unlocked through gameplay and gameplay alone, which is great. Every season has a new theme and introduces new components and looks and gameplay and new ways to unlock stuff and all that kind of cosmetic stuff that you would expect to come with a new video game season. The Yoroi armor is one of the ones in season 1, and this armor looks unbelievably sick. More on this later. And then finally for this Vidoc, they touch on the Academy, which is what looks to be some sort of like social space kind of thing, or like an interactive menu where you can go to onboard yourself into the multiplayer, which basically is for new players to get themselves into Halo and to kind of familiarize themselves with the quirks of Halo. I gotta say that this map kind of area thing that it looks like you can just freely wander around looks really, really cool. There's like parkour routes, there's weapon drills, and also there's the AI training mode, and more on that later. There also seems to be some sort of like canon stuff in here as well. I mean, they talk about Academy helping new players learn about the universe, and then they specifically say the characters as well. So I wonder if they'll have like mini biographies or like a Mass Effect style codex in here for players to learn about the main characters of Halo and the history and stuff like that. And also for Halo vocabulary as well. They say that the Academy is going to help new players understand words and vocabulary that are very tied to Halo. And then the last important detail from this Vidoc is that they seem pretty optimistic about the launch content, which is promising, especially after Halo 5, but they also say again that obviously the content is not static, more will be coming over time after launch as a part of the live service. Okay, so that does it for the Vidoc. Now, let's move on to the gameplay trailer and also the 3 articles that were released that were packed full of information about multiplayer and customization. So starting off, we have an orange Mark 7 Spartan that appears to have a robot arm for his right arm. This Spartan also appears to have a robot leg as well, which I guess confirms arm and leg customization. We then move to a live action section of the trailer, which shows Spartan Lorette, which is a new Spartan character, with a bunch of new Spartan cadets, presumably Spartan 4s, of whom I think look really cool in their BDUs. Seeing Spartans in like actual just fatigues is, I don't know, really cool. So Spartan Commander Lorette is in charge of what is called the Academy, which is basically a training area for new players of Halo to get to grips with maps, weapons, equipment, and the like. Now, given the multiplayer of Infinite is free to play, I think something like this was kind of necessary to help new players kind of acclimatize to Halo's unique gameplay. So, the Academy includes things like a target range and customizable training skirmishes where, for the first time ever in Halo, you can face off against customizable bots. Now, that's so cool. That's something that I've wanted in Halo since Black Ops 1 did it in training mode back in the day, so to see it finally happening is really cool. Fingers crossed these are forgeable. So, in these bot games, you can configure specific loadouts and also deploy bots of various skill levels, all of which can be done in custom games, so you can tailor the experience to your needs. And also, the bots can even fill in roster spots for MIA teammates, which sounds to me a bit like what Counter-Strike does, where if a teammate leaves in a ranked game, then they're replaced by a bot until they return, and that bot can then be controlled by the players in the game. I don't know if it'll work like that, or if this is just for the Academy mode or whatever it is, but either way, it sounds quite intriguing. And over time, as part of Infinite's live service thing, more Academy and also bot content will be added. So just like the rest of the game, it'll evolve and improve over time. Right, moving back to the in-game part of the trailer, we have a Spartan wearing Carter's ever iconic commando helmet with a security shoulder wearing Emil's kukri. We then have a CQB Spartan wearing jump jet shoulders, and this guy looks damn fine. He's also firing a commando rifle with what looks to be the same coating on his rifle as is on his armor. Gen 3 Soldier is shown here, and my god, this is a glow up and then some. It looks so much better than Gen 2. I thought Soldier Gen 2 was so ugly, and this looks so good. It still looks very much like Soldier, but I don't know, it just looks cleaner, and this is an awful adjective to use, but it just looks nicer. Like, that's all I can really come up with. I just prefer this look so much more. And honestly, the coating, that camo coating, makes him look even better, even more so when he jumps in that banished chopper, which flying through the sky alongside those wasps looks so good. And then here we have a nice action shot of Reach, Gen 3, and technically Gen 2 armors side by side. And my god, all of these eras clashing looks so good. This looks like that map that we saw a few months ago that kind of looks like Halo Infinite's version of Fathom, or like Fathom 2.0 or something. Here we have those weapon racks that were mentioned in one of the articles. Now, as cool as these are, I hope these aren't the only way to pick up weapons. I hope weapons actually spawn on the floor as well, because it's going to kind of limit weapon placement if they only spawn on the wall in these racks. I imagine they'll be on the floor as well. I imagine this will just be for like slightly more powerful weapons, like what looks to be the Commando. Here we have one of the 2 new pieces of equipment that were revealed today in action, the Threat Sensor. Now, the Threat Sensor appears to be like a mini UAV type thing, so you fire it, and then it provides basically AoE target designation through walls. It highlights enemies through walls and lets your team see where they are, which could be kind of useful for objective modes. Here we have Gen 2 Hazop, which is back, and it's been Gen 3ified, but honestly, it pretty much looks identical to the Gen 2 Hazop, I guess. Not really much difference there. This clip here is really cool, and I think highlights very well just the insane potential of the Grappleshot. And also, as well, hearing Jeff Steitzer say no scope while a clip like this is pulled off just makes it look so fun. I'm really looking forward to trying this multiplayer.
No scope.
This new, I think, Promethean weapon looks really cool as well. It looks like you can actually rotate which way it fires. You see here the crosshair is horizontal, and then in this clip it's vertical. Maybe this weapon works kind of like Isaac Clarke's plasma cutter from Dead Space, where you can turn the projectile so it fires horizontally or vertically. That would be a really cool quirk of a weapon, I think. I'd love to see that, and honestly, that looks like what it is. Here we have the Grav Hammer, which looks good, but here we also have the Repulsor, which looks so cool. So as you can see here, this Spartan fires a plasma pistol at the guy down below, but the guy down below has the Repulsor, and he reflects the bolt back at the enemy to essentially, like, reverse noob combo him. Now, I really hope this isn't easy to pull off, because this looks so damn cool. But if it's really easy to pull off, it will really wear away the cool factor of it. So I hope this is like difficult and requires like really specific timing to do, but when you do it, it's really powerful. I mean, this looks really powerful, so I'm looking forward to playing with the Repulsor. They also said on, I believe, Waypoint that it can deflect other objects as well. So I imagine the Repulsor can deflect back vehicles. Now that is a recipe for carnage right there. Oh, and also on the topic of equipment, they said in the Waypoint post that more equipment is on the way post-launch, again as part of the live service system. So I'll be intrigued to see what else they add, and also what other equipment they've not shown us yet, because, I mean, so far we've only seen a few pieces. I imagine there's quite a lot more to show off. Now, returning to this clip, if you pause it right here and zoom in on the wall, you'll see that this map is the Avery J. Johnson Academy of Military Science. Wow, my dude. Can I please get an 07 in the comments, please? That is so cool that they've actually dedicated a map to Johnson, like both practically in the real world, but also in universe. The idea that they've created an entire military academy dedicated to Sergeant Johnson, that is so cool. That is so cool. That's a great little bit of like universe flavor there. I love it. Right, so this right here is our first look at our personal AIs, which are a new form of customization that interact and aid you with things on the battlefield. Now, if we're getting our own AIs for multiplayer, right, I have one request. You've gotta let us have the Superintendent. You've gotta let us have it. And also, Black Box as well. Black Box would be perfect for this. Actually, you know what? The more I think about it, the more possibilities of like AIs I'm getting coming to my head. Like, dude, imagine Mendicant Bias. Imagine you finish Halo Infinite on Legendary and you unlock the Mendicant Bias AI. How sick would that be? I am so down for that. That is a really cool idea. This Forerunner map in the desert looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's that beautiful combination of artificial Forerunner architecture being consumed by the natural environment, by the sands of time, if you will. That kind of contrast, it never gets old, and this map is just pure proof of that. It looks absolutely beautiful. This clip also shows that it looks like we're going to be getting vehicles in arena maps again, and it's really the first time since Halo 3 that we've had that. I absolutely loved that about maps in Halo 3, how some of the arena maps, some of the 4v4 maps had like mongooses and warthogs and ghosts on them, and in some certain circumstances, like on Snowbound for example, the ghost, the vehicle was actually a power weapon, so I really hope we see that return in Infinite. It looks like it will be returning, which makes me so happy. Man, the skewer here just looks so damn fun to use against people and also vehicles as well. And as well, this clip overall just kind of highlights why sandbox-orientated gameplay is always better than just making the player super strong by default. I mean, to pull off this sick clip, this player had to actually fight and earn that grapple hook. They had to earn it themselves. They didn't spawn with it. They weren't just given it by the game. They had to fight and earn it, which just makes clips like this all the more sweet. Oh, and also, Grapplejack, being a medal for grappling to a vehicle and then jacking it, is such a cool name. That is a great medal.
Grapplejack.
Right, so here we have the BTB section of the trailer, and I've got to say this BTB map looks absolutely beautiful. I love the architecture and the natural environment, but honestly, I think my favourite thing about this might be the colour palette. The colour palette is kind of grim, but not in like a not very nice to look at way. It has an aesthetic that I would really kind of apply to a Halo 2 map. I don't know if that really makes any sense, but I love the look of this map. And also, Btb 2.0, which I guess this is, looks like absolute vehicular chaos as well. So, according to the actual details on Waypoint, Btb is 12v12, Pelican drops are confirmed, they drop ordnance into the battlefield, weapon ordnance drops also come in from the sky, Spartan Lorette gives you tactical updates on the battlefield. Now, hopefully that won't override Jeff Steitzer like Palmer did in Warzone in Halo 5, because that kind of annoyed me. Hopefully Jeff Steitzer is still really prominent, but honestly, that all sounds really good. Besides one thing, I'll be honest, 12v12 is quite a big letdown for me. I mean, Warzone in Halo 5 was 12v12. I was expecting, like, at least 20v20 for this, if not more than that. Like, I don't know, we've got Battlefield doing, like, 128 players. I mean, obviously, Halo's not Battlefield. The two aren't really comparable, but I just think for such a big thing, 12v12 is a bit lame. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how the maps play. Maybe they'll play really well with 12v12 and it won't feel like the teams are small at all. Maybe it won't, but either way, I think BTB looks really good. We have this purple Spartan here that is wearing a literal bandolier. My man was pulled straight from an 80s action movie. I love it. The chopper here looks incredibly menacing, and the Banshee. Oh, I am a big fan of this Banshee. I really have not liked the Banshee since Halo 3, really. I don't like Reach's Banshee, I don't like 4's Banshee, and I don't like Halo 5's Banshee. But this has a bit of all of those in it, but I actually really like it. I think the Banished Flare really makes it for me. I love how heavily armoured it looks as well. Here, the Spartan picks up the flag, and there's no Flagnum! Thank God, you guys have no idea how much I dislike Flagnum. I cannot stand it. It defeats the object of being at a disadvantage when you're holding an objective, and oh, I'm so happy they've gotten rid of it. Sadly, it does appear that you can sprint with the flag, which I don't like, but to be honest, if that's the compromise we've got to get rid of Flagnum, I'll take it. I really, really did not like Flagnum, so it's so good to see it not return. Also, if you notice the Cobra icon, that's actually one of the logos from Halo CE. So in Halo CE, the teams were, I believe, Eagle was blue team and Cobra was red team. So very, very cool to see that they've brought that back all the way from CE. I like that a lot. But yeah, Btb 2.0 really does just look like BTB on steroids. I wish it was bigger than 12v12, but I think overall this does look really good. Obviously, can't say for sure either way until I play it, so fingers crossed Flighting starts soon. In fact, more details on Flighting in a minute, but yeah, overall this does look really good. So to round out the trailer, we got some Oddball gameplay, and I've got to say, right, this animation here when the Spartan picks up the Oddball, it's such a small thing, right? But the Spartan doing the Hamlet skull pose is such a cool tiny little detail and adds so much flair to the game that honestly, an animation like that is something I would imagine seeing in like a classic Bungie game. That kind of animation, that kind of little detail is something that really made all of Bungie's Halo games for me. And I don't think they've really been present in 343's games, at least as much as they were in Bungie's, but seeing stuff like this kind of gives me hope that they will be. Like, that is, I know it's such a tiny minor thing, but I love that animation. The skull itself as well looks badass too, and it seems to function in a very badass manner too. I mean, look how far that Spartan goes flying. This Spartan here is wearing ODST armor, and it's actual ODST armor this time, not Nightfall, not the other Halo 5 one. Actual ODST. It looks great. I did see somebody saying that this map looked like it was set in New Mombasa, and honestly, I do really see the similarities, but then again, it could just be any, like, desert-based old town, but I suppose if you're gonna set a Halo map in a desert-based old town, it's gonna be New Mombasa, so I don't know, it's quite intriguing. Man, grappling fusion coils, that I can already tell that's never gonna get old. And here we have the Yoroi armor. Yoroi? Y-O-R-O-I. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This armor looks absolutely badass beyond belief. My god, I already love this armor. I mean, this looks to me like the true successor to Hayabusa. We've had quite a few air quote successors over the years that have never looked right. This looks absolutely gorgeous, and it's only fitting that the Yoroi Spartan is using a sword, which, by the way, also seems to have an insanely cool looking lunge animation as well. My god, that suits the Yoroi armor perfectly. I am going to be rocking this armor for quite a while, I'm not going to lie. I think Gunganin might actually want to step aside for a little bit. This bad boy is going to be mine. So, talking about customization, the first season of Halo Infinite is called Heroes of Reach, hence why there's loads of Reach armor in this trailer. Season 1 includes the Yoroi Spartan, which is free to unlock by playing events in Season 1. So the way seasons are going to work is that each Infinite season is going to bring new customization pieces to unlock via gameplay, challenges, events, and purchase. And then they once again reiterate that there'll be no loot boxes or RNG when it comes to armor purchases. So, very interesting that we can unlock armor via gameplay, challenges, events, and purchases. That's very cool. They do later on mention that there's going to be, alongside ranked and social game modes in Halo Infinite, limited time modes as well, which are the wave nowadays. I mean, Fortnite does them, Warzone does them, Apex does them, so many games do them. No surprise that Infinite is as well, and it's going to be very cool to see what, like, limited timed armors they do. That's going to be quite exciting. So, Infinite's take on the iconic armory is called the Armor Hall, and apparently it has more per-piece customization than ever before. From helmets to visors, to gloves, to shoulder pads, and even more. And here, thanks to the Halo Infinite listing on the Xbox website, we have 4 Spartans' armors broken down piece by piece with names. So the first Spartan is a Mark 7 Spartan, and the first customization option is an Armor Core, which honestly I don't know, maybe that's like the generation of armor. You'll see why I'm saying that in a minute. And his Armor Core is Mark 7 Olympus. Coating is Scorpion Punch, with a Mark 7 helmet, Vandal Visor, UA Viator left shoulder, UA Velius right shoulder, Sapax gloves, and UA Type SA knee pads. We then have a Spartan with a Mark 5 Reach Armor Core, which would insinuate that this is not like Gen 3, rather it is literally Mark 5. The core of the armor is the Mark 5 platform, as opposed to the Generation 3 platform. I think that's how it works. So, I've just realised the name of the coating. This Spartan has the Moa Assault coating, with the Scout Helmet, the MIA Visor, the SAP Recon left shoulder, the SAP SNP right shoulder, Mark 5B gloves, and UA Type FJ knee pads. This Emil Spartan, again, has the Mark 5 Reach armor core. Maybe, it says Mark 5 Reach, maybe there's going to be like a Mark 5 Halo 3 and like a Mark 6 Halo 3. Ooh, maybe, you know what, maybe that's how the armor cores are going to work, separate them by games as well as eras. Either way, he has a Noble Defender coating on, Emil's ever iconic EVAC helmet, the Helljumper visor, SAP M left shoulder, SAP MT right shoulder, Challenger gloves, and UA Type JOR knee pads. And then finally, we have yet another Mark V Reach Armour Core Spartan with the Watchdog coating, the Commando helmet, the Stalwart visor, the SAP Gunganir left and right shoulders, and the Mark V-B gloves. So again, very Reach themed, in line with the Heroes of Reach season, which is, of course, Season 1 for Halo Infinite. These Spartans look fantastic. I'm very intrigued by those armour cores. I'm looking forward to hearing more about those. And then we also have this lineup of loads of different sets of infinite armor, which looks absolutely incredible. This is the thumbnail picture right here. This is too good. Seeing them all lined up side by side looks so good. There's some pretty notable things in here as well. You can see quite a lot of the helmets have like visible attachments on them. Like, for example, this, I think, Hazop helmet here has quite a lot of like bolts on the mouthpiece. This helmet here has plating over the visor. And then if we go back to the Hazop helmet and also the one at the side of it, you can see that they've both got very, very snazzy looking visors that almost look textured in a way. The guy on the right looks like he's got kind of like a galaxy in his, I think, pilot helmet, which looks really, really cool actually. They confirmed again that coatings also apply to vehicles and weapons as well, and there are more customization options that they haven't revealed yet, which is very, very intriguing. However, because of coatings, the friend or foe outline system has been introduced and essentially replaces red versus blue. So instead of having one team be red and one team be blue, the friend or foe system gives players outlines based on whether they're allies or enemies, of which you can configure, so you can change the colour of that to denote allies and enemies, and whatever colour you assign to both allies and enemies applies to the scoreboard, to team bases, and team flags. Now, gonna be honest, I don't like this at all. It's cool that we can get more player expression in, like, all game modes, but at the same time, I think this is gonna be really confusing. I really worry about how identification of friends and foe is gonna work with this system. I worry that red versus blue was such a clear and easy to understand system. I can't see a world where this is as clear-cut as red versus blue is. I mean, again, they actually say in the article that they didn't show it off in the gameplay trailer because it was hard to show off in a cinematic trailer, which I think in and of itself is quite worrying. The fact that it's too difficult to show off in a trailer, that alone is kind of concerning, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what it's like when we actually get to play the game, whenever the hell that's going to be. Actually, speaking of Flighting, they said that it begins later this summer, so make sure you get your Halo Insider profiles up to date before then. You don't want to miss out on this. Then just a few little random details to close out. Infinite has split screen, we already knew that, and also LAN, we knew that as well, and the LAN is done via PC local server. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's what it is, at least it has LAN. Joe said that maps and modes that players expect will be there at launch, however, they've got more surprises up their sleeves for the months following launch, which I assume again is going to just fall in with their live service plan. And finally, they mentioned something about skill-based matchmaking. Now, I'm really hoping this isn't going to end up being like COD-style skill-based matchmaking, where games are borderline unplayable if you do well in one game. I hope this is actually just referring to ranked modes, like an actual rank, not skill-based matchmaking being like ranked in every playlist. I really hope that kind of differentiation between social and ranked matchmaking comes back that Halo 3 had. Obviously, SBMM was present in all playlists back in the day, even social had it, but of course it was far less strict than it is nowadays, so fingers crossed that this just means ranked for like ranked playlists. But yeah, there you have it. There's my breakdown of today's Infinite Multiplayer Vidoc, and also the multiplayer gameplay trailer from yesterday, and also the 3 articles that came with it that gave us even more details about the multiplayer and also customization. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about the multiplayer and customization so far. Let me know if you're excited, if there's anything you're concerned about, if there's anything that really gets you excited in particular. Let me hear it down below in the comments, and I'm going to round this one out here. Thank you all so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.